Alright guys, TacticalRab here, and today hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. It's Saturday here at CDL Major 1 and it promises to be an absolute banger with the matches that are upcoming. OpTic versus FaZe, of course, the big one, but also Toronto Ultra could arguably be favourites if they take down the Minnesota Rocket today, depending on what happens in the other series. Scrappy, though, of Toronto Ultra actually reveals on the Scump Watch party last night he might not even be a Toronto player now if things went differently back in the Vanguard season when he was first picked up to the Toronto Ultra Academy. He reckons that he could have maybe joined OpTic back in the day if the cards aligned in a different way. What would that have looked like in terms of what their present team could be? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate. Plenty to get into. Firstly, I mean, man, these hand warmers stuff is actually hilarious. I saw after the games yesterday, I just finished watching the map 5 of this series, and Assault came on stage and handed out some hand warmers to the crowd. So I thought it was just great. And it was funny to see the crowd kind of get behind the team, right? Because last year Vegas were kind of supported a fair bit because they had Clay. This year it's somewhat less so, and they've, you know, the crowd have found someone to support in Assault with this whole like hand warmer thing, which is pretty funny, really. And like Vegas Legion, man, this team, I cannot, like, it actually just frustrates me every single time because they're up 2-0 and I did not feel confident at all. I was thinking this during the series, and I know that it was probably talked about on the broadcast, and I know that Study was talking about it as well, that there's only one team this year that's been reverse swept. And going into this series, it was Vegas twice, right? They got reverse swept by Ravens and they got reverse swept by OpTic. So they've managed to do it again. I mean, it's not like they played badly in the first couple of maps, right? And Attach, we know that he's going to turn up on LAN. Purge had an atrocious series where they 3-0'd Heretics. Like, I don't think we've ever seen a .46 with like 24 kills for a 3-0 sweep. Just outrageous. And to be fair to Purge, he came out swinging the first couple of maps of this series. He actually played legitimately very well. But the problem is they couldn't necessarily uphold that, right? They did win the map 1. They eventually won the map 2 as well. This was funny though from Standy. I guess he was just doing this for fun, right? 1 versus 3, why not? Go for an assassination and it gets spud on. People reminded of like Pac-Man, if you guys remember when Pac-Man came up behind Karma on, what was that map called? How can I not remember? Hunted, of course. Hunted, Search and Destroy. Back in Black Ops 3, he comes out of the water with his Argus shotgun. He tries to take the shot at, well, he waits for Karma to plant so he can get the kill and then the defuse for more score streak points. And then, well, he misses the shot. Karma slides away, hits him with the heat wave. And, well, that is basically that. So, yeah, Stanley maybe tried something similar here. It didn't work out for him, but they did win the map regardless. And then we go to a control where Vegas were atrocious at control. But this looked like, honestly, I thought Vegas had won this. Like, at this particular moment here, I thought it was locked down. Purge was in position. He was getting kills. They were blocking out the spawns. And, you know, they'd already got the B zone done. They were on the A point. It looked like it was going to be good for Vegas, right? It looked like a 3-0 coming through. But all of a sudden, they break out of the trap. Like, a good team in control does not let Gorillas break out of the trap there. Like, you've seen FaZe and other teams get teams in that spawn trap on their offensive side, and just, there's just no chance for the other team. But, yeah, Vegas didn't execute it properly. They eventually lose this map. They lose the map 4, and they lose the map 5. I mean, it's just incredible, man. And this team, like, we know that on paper, Nero, Staddy, Attach as a trio. It is a pretty great trio. Like, when the team was formed, the question was always, is Purge any good? Like, that was basically my question. And if he is, the team can be a legitimate team. I mean, you know, Vegas here should have been top 6 this tournament, realistically speaking. But no, they got reverse swept, and, you know, the game was just one-way traffic at that point. So as Attach says, you know, so many opportunities to close that series. Frustrating for them, absolutely. But they need to think about things because, look, Purge actually had a decent series here, but we can't just wipe away the .46 in the previous series and sure it was for the win. But, you know, I think questions will be asked there as to whether there's a better option in that role, because if there is, which there probably is, then I think Vegas should look to at least consider it, because top 8 is, you know, it's not the end of the world exactly, but it's never where you want to be, a top 8 finish in an event like this, especially when there's been, you know, a few big upsets in the early round. They took down Miami, New York all the way out of the tournament. Like, Gorillas are top 6 with, you know, maybe top 4s even possible based on the way the bracket might fall in their favour for Gorillas, and that's big points in terms of championship qualification at the end of the year. So, you know, every point counts. And if you're looking at Ravens and what they've done, made a couple of changes, sure, one of them they might not have made, like the Real thing, you know, they might have kept him had the visas been available, basically. That didn't happen though, but the change for GodOX for Fellow, and you know what that's done to reinvigorate the balance of the team, especially in the respawn modes, is been massively influential for them. And sure, they're making a bit of a run right now. Ravens, they're still only guaranteed top 8 at the moment, and they'll have to win some more series today if they want to get any further in the tournament. But just the way they looked in their last few series, even if they lose today, has shown that making changes this time is a valuable option. And other teams, I don't think, want to ignore that possibility, especially given there's a good couple of week break after this major when there's plenty of chances for these teams to make moves. I would also say, because I'm pretty sure I didn't mention it yesterday, but I was really hoping during yesterday's first game that there was going to be no PC crashes, right? Like, as soon as game 1 finished between New York and Ravens with no crashes, because it was such a banger map as well, like if there had been a crash there, been disastrous, then I was pretty happy. And it turns out the game ran very smoothly with like 0 issues, pretty much. So I thought that was just great to see. I don't know what they did overnight, but they fixed something which was fantastic. There's also this in the Challenger side. It's over the road in the House of Blues. It's actually such a sick venue. Like, they've got the main stage up here with, I mean, several setups up to like, 15. And then on the top level, they've got even more setups around the balcony. Like, it's actually such a cool setup they've got going on here. I popped in there briefly last night just to see what was happening. Even Arcetes was trying to get on to the stage to watch Priestahh play, but they wouldn't let him. So the referees kicked him off, which is kind of unfortunate. I don't really know why. Do they not know who this guy is? And also, what does it matter at the end of the day, right? So people can't go up there to watch people play, and especially your twin brother, like, kind of crazy stuff. So Priesthah's in the losers bracket, of course. Arcetes got the job done last night. It was nice to see Surge got a victory to at least put some sort of smile on Arcetes' face, because it's not been great lately. They play Ravens tonight, we'll see in a second. This, though, was pretty wild. I can't believe that Ad for the rotation actually tagged, like, JoeDeceives and the guys in this, paying the good money to go to a LAN and get 250 to 0'd. That's a pretty rough one. Like, people were saying this is a gamer tag changing moment. Like, this is when this happened, and you're just like, okay, like, I'm out of here, like, I'm going to come back with a different name next year. I think Fire40 was saying that it was probably his team that was responsible for dishing out the damage on this one. But, yeah, getting 250 0'd on LAN is a pretty rough one, not going to lie. There was also this talk between Temp and Parasite on JurNii, right? Because JurNii got cooked this weekend. I mean, he had like a 0.7 in both of his series, and there's been talk about exactly why. Is it a playstyle thing? Is it just onliner? I don't know. Like, you can debate that. I have my own opinion. Temp's opinion is running a straight line to the other team is less effective in a tournament, and so believing that kind of playstyle that he has is not really going to work. And I also will mention real quick in terms of potential changes that wasn't it Miami that before the season were planning to run ErikBooM in their starting team. I think it was going to be ErikBooM, MettalZ, Lucky, Vikul was the starting 4. They then made a change after a few scrims to put JurNii in instead. And while that has worked initially, JurNii got cooked this LAN. So maybe there's a question there as to they think, what, maybe ErikBooM from their Challengers, he's on the Challengers team right now and doing pretty well, I think, in the Challengers tournament. So far, they're one of the top seeds. Maybe getting him back in from the sub bench and JurNii out could be something to consider. But intrigued to your thoughts on that in the comment section, right? Because they've been getting points online, but it's like you go to a major, you get top 12, you don't win a map. It's like, you have to consider doing something, because the major is where the bread is won at the end of the day. And there's lots of CDL points this year for majors, which there has not been so many previously. Just this year we have so many online qualifiers that it kind of cancels out that change. But Scrappy last night hopped on the OpTic watch party, and there was a couple of hilarious clips I got to mention here, but one of the very interesting ones actually, because Scrappy was beginning to be talked about in like the middle of the Vanguard season. During Vanguard, people were talking about, even I remember Doug talking about Real and a couple of other players, but Scrappy really, kind of the later half of that season, came to be known as like an absolute monster at that game. And I think Scrappy still thinks that Vanguard was like his best game he's played so far. Wasn't even a pro in that game. He did play one series as a pro in that game when he was subbed into Toronto. They played like one series with him because they needed to sub him in, and he dropped like a 1.3 or something. So people were like, okay, yeah, this guy's next up. He's going to be on that team next year. But he might not have joined Toronto Ultra Academy. Like, there was a time where, he was frying in challenges before he goes to Ultra Academy NA, where he was potentially available. And what Scrap says is that during the time where eLLi was having his injury and they needed to make some moves, they eventually got Pro Loot in, right? But there's a realistic chance there that they signed Scrappy at that time. And had they have got Scrappy instead of eLLi, and it's a bit of a weird one, I guess, in terms of the pacing, but to be fair, Scrappy and Dashy as an AR duo would have worked, I think. I mean, we see Scrappy and Insight works. So I think Scrappy and Dashy definitely works in terms of relative pace. Like, imagine that happens. Surely Scrappy would still be on the team today.
Oh my god, against the world champs.
He's hilarious.
Listen, against the world champs. Read it out
Is that MW 2019?
No, that's Vanguard.
Vanguard
against Thieves.
He dropped 60 against Thieves in a scrim.
Shit on.
You're all right, man. I'm not gonna gas you. You're all right.
Yo, you guys would have been
your team
fucked.
were Cap?
You would have been if I played in Vanguard.
Wait, is this after?
We were anyway. Our teammate was hurt.
I was top 3.
Is that after we dropped Cap?
Yo, you know if I didn't sign to Toronto, I probably would have played with you guys.
We would have been gross.
I was dirty in that
We
game.
would have been disgusting.
Because you guys were looking for one like this, like a month later.
Boy, like after Ender was hurt.
What are we hearing?
Yo, Felony was kind of shooting against me in scrims yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
That boy Johnson?
Yeah, I might have a fucked up PC though. I might have a fucked up PC.
It was neck versus neck.
Fuck out of here with your long ass neck
I
as
do
well.
got a long neck as well.
Thank God you got a CleanX.
I got a long one
You weren't
too.
playing too hot yesterday. Like you played okay, but like not to like.
Dude, Toby was unkillable.
How am I supposed to get any kills when he's 25 and 6 in
Exactly.
hardpoint?
Thank God you had
Unkillable.
him because you were negative a lot of the time. But it's all good because sometimes it's a load management series. You got to start off slow, you know.
Exactly.
Because given how good he was at that game, there's almost zero chance that he would have come into that team, underperformed and, you know, got dropped. And it's kind of not exactly a similar thing to this whole Real thing, right? But TJ's coming for Real. They look better as a team. And Real's probably not coming back, is he? Unfortunately, the visa stuff is what it is. But had Scrappy come in for Illy, for example, and played incredibly well, could they really have put Illy back in the team? I mean, they might have done when he was healed, just because they won at the start of the season, right? Like OpTic, when they came in the start of Vanguard, they won the first event. Then Illy got the thumb injury or whatever, and then we know the rest from there. So, you know, had Scrappy come in and they hadn't won anything for the rest of the season, and then Illy was like uninjured again or whatever by the ends, then they might have made the move back. But realistically speaking, given how good Scrappy was at Vanguard, like, if he'd have come into OpTic at that point and actually played on their starting roster for a while, it's difficult to imagine that he wouldn't still be on OpTic in some respect, just as that good. What do you mean for today's roster, though, right? Because Scump obviously stepped away. Even when Scump did the whole retiring thing and Dashy was dropped, Scump moved to a flex briefly with, you know, Shotzzy and, like, Huke came in and all this stuff. But obviously that wouldn't have really worked when Scrappy was there unless Dashy was also gone. So, yeah, it would have been a weird one, right, to see what happened over the last couple of years. Had Scrappy be on an OpTic, but, you know, we need personalities like this in the league. There's no doubt about it. OpTic also came up with some of their comms from their game against Miami Heretics, and I guess OpTic will have some questions to answer in a way as to what's going to happen today after their series against Miami, right? Because beating Miami 3-0 was very impressive at the time based on what happened before, but now they've just seen Vegas 3-0 Miami, so they might think, well, you know, are we actually that good? Or, you know, does it affect their headspace going into today? Because if Miami had come through and like smoked Vegas yesterday, then OpTic would think, okay, yeah, we beat a decent team, but OpTic possibly didn't beat a decent LAN team, so, you know, the challenge is seriously greater today against Atlanta FaZe, but this is the bracket as it presently stands. So Gorillas play last game today. They made it all the way through the losers bracket. They will play the loser of Ultra Rocker, so the bracket swaps around. So one of, probably Rocker or Gorillas, is making top 4 this event, which is pretty impressive. And to be honest, if Rocker, let's say they lose to Toronto, but then they beat Gorillas, and then maybe even they win their losers, losers semi-final to make top 3, they might be the 4th best team in the game right now, because I'm still thinking that it's Ultra, FaZe, OpTic, probably top 3, but New York with the top 12 placing, you know, a spot in the top 4 is definitely up for grabs. Miami are not taking it. I'm not convinced these other teams are taking it, but, you know, the opportunity is there. What if Ravens make a run? What if Gorillas get top 4? What if Rocker get, like, top 3? There's an argument that those guys are seriously moving in terms of where the power rankings currently look. But, yeah, these are the games today. I mean, it's just such a banger day on paper, absolutely. There's even some OpTic fans outside the venue spotted at, like, 2 a.m. last night. They were chilling outside, you know, in, like, blankets and stuff, just getting ready for the game. So people are absolutely going wild for today's match. It's going to be a bang. I mean, here we are on Saturday. OpTic versus FaZe doesn't get much better than this, but this is the schedule, right? Surge Ravens, fascinating series. I think the Ravens should absolutely be favoured in the respawn modes. There's no doubt about it from what we've seen over the last couple of days. Ravens have won their last, like, 5 hard points in a row. All they've got to do is win a Surge. They did so yesterday against the Subliners, and that was enough to get them over the line. Their Surge maybe is still a bit suspect, and we know that Surge is good because of what they did yesterday against Boston. But Boston's Surge is pretty terrible, to be honest, which it shouldn't be with their roster, but, you know, that's the topic I'm sure we'll have in the coming days. So I think I've got to take Ravens to win this round. I'm going to take a 3-1, give Surge one of the maps here, maybe the Surge, maybe the Control, but, yeah, yeah, Ravens, I've got to favour them, I think, to win this series, which is pretty exciting, to be honest. Then it's OpTic versus FaZe. Man, this is so interesting because it has parallels to what's happened back in the Vanguard season when FaZe were they undefeated or were they very close to undefeated going into Major 1 in Vanguard. OpTic and FaZe then matched up in winners round 2. FaZe went up 2-0, and then aBeZy, of course, did the ear thing, and then OpTic made the reverse sweep happen, and Dashy threw up the choke sign, and it's a pretty famous moment. And that was a very similar moment, first event of the season, FaZe were looking really good, OpTic were maybe not shaky, but, they came into the series, they got the reverse sweep, they went on to win the tournament. So I think it's possible. I do think that FaZe are going to be a different beast here with Drazah, especially in a LAN environment, playing like this. But OpTic wanted revenge against Miami, and they got it. They want revenge against FaZe, and we'll see if they get it. I think this series is going to be closer than we saw the other day. I think FaZe should be favoured, but, FaZe in 5, I think, would be my prediction here. But I think in the breaking point predictions, I'm actually going to go with OpTic because I need to catch up a little bit. But I think it's difficult to call this one. Rocket Ultra, I just don't see Toronto losing to a team that isn't like a FaZe, really, or maybe like an OpTic or something. Rocket have played well, but I think that just matchup to matchup in terms of player to player, Ultra just have their number, really. And then the next series will be the loser OpTic FaZe versus the winner of this top series. So, my bracket, I guess I've got OpTic versus Ravens here, which would be, chance to make top 4, and then it would be like Rocker versus Gorillas. So that's how it looks for today. Very much interested your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.